me bring you my man. He is back. You're looking good. I'm glad you're looking healthy. Laith Marouf. He is an award-winning multimedia producer and media policy law consultant focused on issues of liberation and decolonization from nations of Arab peoples to building broadcasting capabilities for misrepresented and underrepresented communities around the world. You can catch him Free Palestine TV. That is where I typically see you on Twitter. Laith, how you feel, man? You doing okay?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for asking, and thank you very much for caring while I was in detention. I really appreciate you taking that public stance, and I appreciate all the help of your fans. I think the collective pressure coming from everybody helped in this. So although I can't name everybody, thank everybody that cared for my life.
No, man, I don't want to see anyone disappear into a black site, let alone you. You have been one of the most fearless people on the ground that I have seen, like shockingly so. So no, man, I am glad that you're good. I'm glad that you're healthy. I'm glad that you're back on the horse. I am glad that you are here. So thank you for that. I'm just glad you're here. And yeah, from my understanding, there was a lot of people screaming at Canada. Hadi was here. He gave a really good interview explaining what took place and everything else, and really petitioning the audience, contact Canada, contact Canada, contact the people in the administration to let them know what was taking place. And it sounds like they were screaming at the Canadians, which is good, which is good. Two main topics that I want to hit. The first one I am somewhat enamored by, and I'm curious on your take about it. So the Lebanese president came out, gave a speech. If this shows up, come on, there we are. So the Lebanese president gave a speech. And in the context of the speech, he says the following. And I don't quite know how this is going to work in practice, if it's going to work at all. And I'm just curious on your view of it. If I can find it, there we are.
مطلع الأسبوع المقبل وكان الجانب الأمريكي قد عرض علينا مسودة أفكار أجرينا عليها تعديلات جوهرية ستطرح على مجلس الوزراء مطلع الأسبوع المقبل وفق الأصول ولتحديد المراحل الزمنية لتنفيذها وهذه أهم النقاط التي طلبنا بها وقف فوري للأعمال العدائية الإسرائيلية في الجو والبر والبحر بما في ذلك الاغتيالات انسحاب إسرائيل خلف الحدود المعترف بها دوليا وإطلاق سراح الأسرى بسط سلطة الدولة اللبنانية على كافة أراضيها وسحب سلاح جميع القوى المسلحة ومن ضمنها حزب الله وتسليمه إلى الجيش اللبناني.
So he is effectively saying, and correct me if I'm wrong if I get any of this wrong, he is passing a law through the cabinet, I would imagine parliament, that is going to disarm Hezbollah. And this is going to be enacted through law. And then my question is, okay, who is going to disarm Hezbollah? Is the Lebanese military that wouldn't fire a shot in anger at the Israelis who's bombing them continuously? Are they going to disarm Hezbollah? Hezbollah is part of the political structure. How do they think they're going to make this work? And does this create a civil war?
Yeah, I think we have to understand a few things. One is that this speech came after the visit of Trump's envoy, Barak, and also it was preceded by a speech from Sheikh Naim al-Qasim, the Secretary General of Hezbollah. And once we understand that the United States basically told Lebanon, Israel's going to attack you again if you don't disarm Hezbollah, and we're not going to stop the attacks of the Zionists. This is literally what Barak said. We're not going to stop the attacks of the Zionists until you disarm Hezbollah. Then we can think also about the speech of Naim al-Qasim saying they will not be disarming as long as there's occupation of Lebanese territory. And finally, we can see how the president here is trying to keep some leeway with his relationships with the United States, and also a maneuverability space where he proceeded, say, the disarmament of Hezbollah with the conditions of a total cessation of violations of Lebanese airspace and territory, and this total cessation of assassinations and a complete withdrawal from Lebanese territories as acknowledged by international law. So it's almost like it's saying, well, we've done already our obligations under 1701, which is to disarm Hezbollah south of the Litani. The Lebanese military and Hezbollah have delivered on their obligations and also under the obligations of the cessation of hostilities, and Israel hasn't. So there will be nothing further than that until Israel ceases to attack Lebanon and withdraws from its territories. And that's clearly not going to happen. So I don't think people should jump on this as if the president is going to somehow use the military to disarm. Whatever law he's going to pass or attempt to pass in the parliament, which is going to take months, this is all really just trying to give a maneuverability space for Lebanon, while the United States and Israel are plotting for a larger war that's going to happen on Lebanon. Most people expect probably in the next 7 days there would be an attack on Lebanon. So this is an attempt by the president to delay that inevitability. There's no way the Lebanese military can confront Hezbollah, and there is no way that the parliament of Lebanon will pass such decrees if it's clearly not with those conditions of withdrawal and cessation of hostilities, because Hezbollah doesn't only exists because there was a occupation of Lebanon. Even before October 7th, there was still Lebanese territory like Shab'a Farms and other locations in Lebanese territorial waters that were occupied by the Zionist colony. And as if Israel actually gives President Aoun what he wants, Hezbollah doesn't need to exist, and which tells you why they will never give him what he wants. So put it in that when we put it in that context, it doesn't seem that drastic.
Okay, that makes sense. But Israel has never honored any of its agreements one way or the other. I mean, in fact, when Israel was talking about Iran, they said we were going to use the Lebanese model, which for them boiled down to, even though we would agree to a ceasefire, quote unquote, we are still going to continue to attack that country. So the president doesn't believe that Israel is going to be or honor those agreements, even if those agreements were met. I mean, even if Hezbollah said we're going to give up our weapons, does he really believe that Israel is going to stop attacking Lebanon?
No, I think everybody knows Israel is not going to stop attacking Lebanon, and Israel is not going to withdraw from occupied territories. Therefore, the third step in whatever he's talking about is not going to happen. He will not use the military, and he cannot use the military. There will be huge amounts of desertion from the military. Probably 2/3 of the military will desert if he attempts to do this, because that's the amount of Shia in the military. And there's a lot of patriotic Christians, Druze, and Sunnis also in the military, and we shouldn't expect them to follow the orders if they come in such ways. That's not going to happen. So I think a bigger indicator of the overall direction that Lebanon is going towards is the speech by the head of the Kata'ib party, one of the Christian supremacist party, Al-Jumayl, whose father was the biggest collaborator with the Israelis. And when Israel occupied 1982, they appointed him as the president of the country, and then Syria and the resistance blew him up in the palace. Point is, this is the son of the most notorious collaborator with Israel in Lebanon's history. He came out a few days ago, before the speeches of Naim al-Qasim and the president of Lebanon, saying, when somebody asked him about the disarmament of Hezbollah, he said, this is not the time to talk about this, especially given the massacres that are happening of the Christians, Druze, and Alawis, and Shias in Syria as we're talking. So we know that, in fact, the majority of the Christian population right now is getting armed to the teeth. The Druze population too. This is forgetting the Shia and so on. So it's the majority of the population will not allow right now the country to fall to a situation where it cannot defend itself, where the Israelis and the Wahhabi death squads are knocking on the door.
That's what I was going to go with. So the belief is that the Jelani death squads, for all intents and purposes, are going to come from the north for some level of an attack in order to try to, it's counterproductive, induce the Lebanese to give up their weapons and give up their arms. But the belief is that that attack is coming.
Yeah, look, there was already skirmishes on the border in the north, again, over the last 3 days. Those are all just, pressure points.
Yeah.
But if the pressure would have worked, it would have worked long time ago with all, it's now, 7 months, 8 months almost of quote unquote ceasefire, while continuing to bombard Lebanon and continuing destruction of the south and continuing attacks from the north since the fall of the Damascus government. And that didn't work. So what we should be expecting is it's going to happen. And the Israelis cannot invade from the south because they destroyed the majority of the south. There's nothing there. So if they attack by land from the south, Hezbollah will just carpet bomb the already destroyed villages on top of them, and they will be squashed. So the expected attack strategy will be the Israelis are right now occupying inside Syria, a few kilometers away from the main border crossing between Syria and Lebanon, in the middle of the Biqa' Valley, the Masna border crossing. And if they invade from there, they'll be right now in the middle of the Biqa' Valley immediately. It's just a few minutes, okay, right on the border, right in the middle of the Biqa' Valley. And that will cut the country in half. And the Wahhabi death squads will attack from the north at the same time. That's the expected attack strategy if the Israelis decide to invade. And the last time they attempted to do this was in 1982, as they were, occupying Beirut. They tried to do the same thing, but then there was the Syrian military and the Syrian Air Force, which had the largest tank battle in history post World War II between the Israeli ground forces and the Syrian ground forces, and the largest air battle post World War II, again, over those areas. And the Syrian military crushed the Israelis decisively at a huge cost. They lost 70 somewhat aircrafts, and the Israelis had to retreat. This was that day, 1982, when there was a Syrian military. So what is going to happen if the Israelis invade from there with no Syrian military to defend the soft, side of the Biqa' Valley?
That is disturbing. That is very disturbing. So, okay, so we're looking at an attack from the north and from the south, and we're looking, from your point of view, what is going on in Syria with the Bedouins? I've had people on the show who said that the Bedouins weren't controlled by Jelani, that they were just animals on their own. I've had others who said they were controlled by Jelani, whether they were wearing a uniform or not. These are just kind of terrorist groups that were ostensibly under his control, going after the Druze community. But it's weird. I mean, as I've pointed out, it's very contradictory. They would say something to the effect of, we are going after the Druze because they're Israeli collaborators. But then they would also say, but then it's like, but your guy, the quote unquote president that is taking power, the jihadist president, is working directly with Israel and has been making one treaty after the next, meaning trying to get Israel and entice Israel in some kind of deal for the last several months, ever since he's taken power. What's really happening in this situation?
You see, it's important for us to notice how the Zionists and the imperialists try to confuse people in terms and abuse terms. Like when they want to talk about Palestinian citizens of the state of Israel, they will call them Arabs, right? And the specific, putting on a separate category the Druze, other than the other Palestinians, okay, inside.
Right.
And here we have to demystify these things. Number one, all Arabic people are Bedouin. We
Okay.
all were nomads. Okay, Bedouin means nomad, like it's not sedentary like person. And the Druze are Bedouin. They're originally from Yemen. Okay, and they traveled across the Arabic world when the dam of Sheba collapsed. Okay, they left Yemen looking for a better place. And Druze are also Muslims. They're just a sect called the Unitary Muslims. Okay, and the word Druze is only used usually by colonialists. Honestly, they don't call themselves Druze; they call themselves Unitary Muslims, right?
I see.
So these are all terms that are put there just to create divisions that don't exist. And myself, I'm from Deir ez-Zor. We're also Bedouin, okay? Originally, my family and so on. And my great grandfather, the Mufti of Deir ez-Zor, and at the end of the Ottoman era, Sheikh Muhammad al-Arfi, was the comrade in arms of Amir Sultan al-Atrash, the leader of Suwaida Unitary Muslims, quote unquote, Druze sect, during the French occupation. And my grandfather from Deir ez-Zor and Amir al-Atrash from Suwaida were the leaders of the Great Syrian Revolt against the French occupation. Okay, so that shows you that there's no animosity between these communities. And now what the imperialists and the Zionists are trying to do with their chameleon contras that change their Velcro patch here from ISIS to Al-Qaeda to Al-Nusra to HTS and now to quote unquote Bedouins. Okay, these are the same mercenaries and changing their colors depending on what the propaganda scheme requires. They're trying to create a schism between the rest of Syria and the Suwaida region and the Unitary Muslim sects. Okay, when historically revolts in Syria come from three regions: Suwaida, Deir ez-Zor, and the coast. And those communities are dominated by, in Suwaida, the Unitary Muslims, quote unquote Druze, the coast, the Alawites, and the desert and river area of Deir ez-Zor being dominated by the Sunni tribes. Okay, so what the U.S. needs to do and Israel to destroy Syrian identity, to destroy Syrian unity and coalescence, is to separate those three regions from the heartland of the cities between Aleppo and Damascus. Usually city dwellers and the middle class and the merchant class go with whoever is in power. It is the countryside usually that revolts, that is, doesn't have an investment in the state's stability, right? So what the Americans did over 15 years was to rob Deir ez-Zor and the proud Syrian Bedouin Sunni tribes of the Deir ez-Zor, of all of their resources, the oil, the gas, the wheat, the cotton, destroy their main cities, Deir ez-Zor and Raqqa, to the ground. There's nothing left of my hometown, Deir ez-Zor, and make them into homeless peoples wandering with no roots, and get them to forget what my great-grandfather did and the tribes of Deir ez-Zor against the French occupation. Make them forget their relationship to the rest of the country. And the second stage was what we saw the Americans and their Wahhabi death squads do to the Alawis of the coast, killing all their notables, their doctors, their, destroying all their homes and so forth. And what was left of the three pillars that could uplift Syria from occupation was Suwaida. And this is what we're witnessing right now, trying to break the will of the people of Suwaida to sever their ties to history and to the glory of Amir Sultan al-Atrash, and his leadership against French occupation, and get them to run to be saved by Israel. This is what they want the people of Suwaida to do that, and up until now they're refusing, the people of Suwaida.
Yeah. Well, and so this is still Jelani U.S. backed in its operation and in the form that it's effectively taken. That despite all of this idea that these are separate groups, these are separate people, that's not really the case. That you have a group that is connected, let's say culturally and historically, to Syria, that they're trying to break that connection, to have Israel to be the quote unquote savior in this situation.
Yes, and they're killing whole bloodlines, as has happened in Palestine. They're, anyone that has any connection to those bloodlines of revolts against French occupation are being killed. Every child, woman, and man, elder or not, from whole families are being hunted down, so as to have this severance from history that they're trying to institute. So these are the road bandits, the pirates, the mercenaries, the hordes that the U.S. has set on Syria, the same ones, just changing colors.
This wasn't a question I was thinking about in advance, but I am curious on your take living in that area. This feels so demonic to me. And I mean that in the fullest term of the word, evil. And it's not just in Syria. I mean, when I would tell my mom about foreign policy, I would tell her life doesn't matter. And she would be shocked by the thing, because most people would be shocked when you say something like that. But it's like life doesn't matter in the context of the way we look at foreign policy in the United States, or at the very least the leadership that comes up with these war plans and these plans of global supremacy. Whether it's in Gaza, whether it's in the West Bank, whether it's in Syria, it's almost as if they've come to the conclusion that there's a group of disposable people that we can just eliminate. And I mean this by Europe also, by the way, because Europe may be doing this ass-saving maneuver of we believe in a two-state, but it's an ass-saving maneuver. They back this the entire way through. And I would argue they still back it now. These are just Europeans, right? What does it make you think and feel like living in that region when you know that there is a large number of either Europeans or Americans that are enacting these plans and are moving people around as if they were chess pieces, not caring about the real physical matter of life that these people are enduring? I was showing this video before you got here, and I was trying to make the point of saying, this is policy. This is not, if you talk to Trump, Trump will say, well, if you feed babies, you're helping Hamas. And then they'll show a picture of this Israeli as if he's special. It's like, why is that guy special? That guy's not special. He's just enduring what he would be putting people through if he wasn't stupid enough to get caught or stupid enough to get shot. give me your thoughts on this, and then I move to my other issue. But I am just curious, just as an overt articulation point of view of being in the region and seeing the level of evil that they're willing to enact on just human beings.
Look, if I wasn't a avid reader of history, I would feel that this is kind of dangling out of time, this moment. But when you look at human history, you realize that this is a repetitive story. And in fact, it's, when you're living in this area, you even no matter how secular you'd like to be, in the end, you do feel this weight of time, which is, Father Time, one of the indicators of the eternal life that is there. So if you are here, you see those patterns much clearer, and you understand why every prophet was killed, and you understand why they had to be killed to move the masses who are need those sacrifices to see the path, the footprints of the Creator. I say these things not to scare people away from those who are not religious or anything like this, but it is truly it's truly would be selfish of me as a Palestinian, as an Arab, to think somehow my story is going to be different. That I, for instance, with all my work, I somehow can achieve what Muhammad or Jesus or Moses couldn't, or Che Guevara for that matter. It allows you to put things in perspective of your place in life and the course of time, and the eternity of this struggle that is the test for all of us. Where, how do you treat other human beings? And how much do you allow of injustice to pass in front of you and do nothing about it? That's really the test of life. Are we going to have a utopia, heaven on earth? Can I achieve that or not? In the end, it becomes irrelevant. What is relevant is what have I done in my lifetime on this earth.
Yeah.